Today is Wednesday, June 7th, 2023, and we'd like to welcome everyone to the board meeting. We'll call this meeting to order at 9 a.m. You can join today's board meeting via phone. Dial 971-254-3149. Conference ID 736-023-979 #. Audio capabilities are listen only and offered on the best effort for the public. Our meeting is also live streamed, and you can join us by going online to tctvonline.com and clicking on live broadcasts. Before we get started, I'd like to remind everyone to mute their phone. You can do this by pressing *6. Please unmute your phone when your agenda item is ready to be discussed. For those joining via computer, please mute your microphone and turn on your camera when your agenda item is called. All others must remain muted with their cameras turned off. Thank you. Public comment. Those intending to provide public comment to the board may attend in person or email submissions to publiccomments@co.tillamook.or.us. Public comments received by 12 p.m. on Tuesday will be distributed to the board, posted online before the meeting, and become part of the public record. You may also provide public comment virtually by registering ahead of time. To register, please email publiccomments@co.tillamook.or.us by 12 p.m. on the Tuesday prior to the board meeting. Public comments can also be mailed to the Board of Commissioners Office, 201 Laurel Avenue, Tillamook, Oregon, 97141. For more information on public comment options, please visit the Board of Commissioners webpage. Thank you. I should have that memorized by now, shouldn't I? Okay, do we have anyone signed up in the room or anyone registered online for public comment?
No, neither.
We do not. Okay, thank you. Well, we have called the meeting to order, so we would invite any guests in the room to please sign our guest list, and we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Bell, would you lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. I will comment that Commissioner Yamamoto is not with us today. He is in Sisters testifying at the Board of Forestry meeting about the Habitat Conservation Plan. So we will not have him with us. Okay, we do not have any public comments and we do not have any non-agenda items. So we will just jump right into our legislative administrative agenda. Item number 5. Discussion and consideration of a commercial lease renewal with Tracy S. Arthur and Todd R. Riggert for property located at 805 Ivy Avenue, Suite B, Tillamook, Oregon, 97141. And we should have Marlene Putman, our Administrator of Health and Human Services, with us today. Good morning, Marlene.
Good morning. Yes, we are renewing our lease for the building that we're currently leasing for our dental services with the Riggert Family Foundation, but specifically the principal agents in there, Tracy and Todd Riggert. You'll see on page 1, the term of the lease is August 1, 2023, and it runs through July 31, 2024. In section 2 under rent, you'll see 3 different dates in there for the next several years, but for this time period, the 2023 through 2024, our lease is for $2,100. The rest of the terms in the agreement are the same as previous lease agreements that we have had with them, generally, but it's been reviewed by county council as to this substance. So consequently, we believe it's ready to go for your review today, and we were aware of and discussed these terms with the foundation representatives prior to changing our lease terms.
And Commissioner Scar, I did have one question I didn't get a chance to ask Marlene. I think I might have put in the email, but there's a lease provision that says no staff or employee parking in the lot.
Because we use the space in front of the building for our patients.
Oh, okay.
So we've told our staff they can't park in that area. They have to park in other portions designated to them. Because we have buildings right across from each other, and there's a limited parking for patients, and there are 2 offices for patients in their area. So,
all right, so that
yeah.
was by design. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
questions or comments?
I don't have questions on the lease renewal. My comment is just how grateful I continue to be that we're able to offer dental services in Tillamook County.
Okay. Yeah, I think the comment that I would make is one of the projects that we are doing with some ARPA funds and then also with some departments specifically, or funds specifically from the health department, is to do some looking at space needs for our Health and Human Services Department, including our federally qualified health center services, because we keep adding services, which is the most amazing thing for our community, but we struggle with the space that we have for that to be possible. So one of the projects on the horizon is to really look at the space needs of our clinic and dental services to determine how we can make the best use of what we have and whether that for the long term is going to be a viable campus for us or not. So just, you know, a lot of planning and looking to the future, and that includes our special revenue funds such as our federally qualified health center. So yeah, so we're grateful for the lease, grateful for the space to offer the service, and just very cognizant of the fact that you can only put so many dentists into the space that we have, and the demand for dental care outpaces that. So, okay, I think we are ready for a motion.
Madam Chair, I move approval of a commercial lease renewal with Tracy S. Arthur and Todd R. Riggert for property located at 805 Ivy Avenue, Suite B, Tillamook, Oregon.
And I would second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All of those in favor, please signify by saying aye. 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 Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, Marlene, I see you have the next item as well. Discussion and consideration of a first amendment to Oregon Health Authority Intergovernmental Agreement number 170665 for environmental health services.
Yes, we don't often see amendments on our environmental health programs, but you'll see, it's just a one-pager, but you'll see that there is a change in the date of this agreement for the terms of delivery of environmental health services from June 30th, 2023 to June 30th, 2029. So sometimes definitions get changed, language is quote-unquote struck, and new language is added. That is indicated either with a line through it for the changes and bold underlined for additions. So you'll see for the first biennium beginning July 1, 2021 and ending June 30th, 2023, there's some changes around the amount of license, but we've been working with this already. And then for the biennium beginning 2023, July 1, going through 2029 for the pool and spa program, it says in the amount of $90 for each license issued by the local public health authority in that quarter under Oregon Revised Statute 448.035. So it gives you a little bit more detail in there, but it is a one-pager. And then on the very last change, there's revenue based on licensing fees that the state sets. They do it during the biennium, so we're following basically the guidelines that the state updates under Oregon Revised Statutes, or ORS as we know it.
Perfect, thank you. Questions or comments, Commissioner?
I do not. Thank you.
Okay, I think it's an opportunity as always to educate a little bit in the public. So our public health services related to environmental health are a mandate of the state of Oregon. We have, it's as many things that we receive are a mandate of the state of Oregon, and our environmental health services folks have to enforce the laws of the state of Oregon. So as people look at this and say, well, why is this fee increasing and how come nobody knows about it? It's because this is the ORS that we are required to enforce. And I would use the opportunity here to also talk about food safety, which is in this same program and is also a required enforcement provision that we have. And I know there have been some changes to the food safety rules in the last couple of years that we are enforcing and that have people a little bit concerned. So Marlene, I don't know if you want to say anything else about environmental services, but it is definitely, it's mandated by the state, and we are doing our best to make sure those ORS are followed, which keeps the county in compliance and keeps people safe.
Yeah, so if people have questions about whether they need a license or, information when they're serving food or inviting public, you can call our environmental health office and they'll get back to you quickly. We can talk through what the rules are, we can talk about options, because it is confusing and sometimes may not make sense to folks that aren't familiar with what the requirements are around maintaining food at certain temperatures, other kinds of health risks that are posed if we don't take care of those things. So just encourage people, err on the side of caution. If you don't know for sure, give us a call. You can call the direct line and transfer you to, so it's 842-3900. We'll transfer it in and get back to you. Usually people get back to you the same day. So just wanted to share that. There is a lot to cover with a lot of new mobile services, people wanting to offer different kinds of meal sites and things like that. So just give us a call. Thanks.
Thank you, I appreciate it. I just want to take the opportunity to give a little education because the Environmental Health Services Department at the county takes a lot of flack for the rules that they are enforcing. And just to clarify again, these are state rules. It's not something we set at the county level, but it is something we are required to enforce. And so this one is specifically talking about pools and spas, but it relates to bed and breakfast. There are rules, relates to food service, there are rules. There's just a myriad of things that fall under this particular Department of Health and Human Services. So, all right, thank you for indulging me. I think we are ready for a motion.
Madam Chair, I move approval of a First Amendment to the Oregon Health Authority Intergovernmental Agreement number 170665 for environmental health services.
And I would second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, and we'll call for the vote. All of those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Marlene. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 7, discussion and consideration of an 8th amendment to the Oregon Health Authority 2022 Intergovernmental Agreement number 173148 for the financing of community mental health, addiction treatment, recovery and prevention, and problem gambling services. We should have with us Frank Hannon-Williams, Executive Director, Tolman Family Counseling. Good morning, Frank.
Good morning, Commissioners and all. Frank Hannon-Williams. We want to, looking at this 8th amendment to the IGA 173148. Specifically, this involves an additional amount of dollars which will be coming to the agency for the purpose of mobile response and related to crisis emergency services. And mobile response specifically when it involves children and young adults and their families. This involves approximately just a little over $60,000, and this is something that will allow us to be able to staff up to provide this kind of support in the community during the next year. It allows the money to flow a little before the year begins, and that effective July 1, there are some things that we are going to be doing a little bit differently in terms of our response, and this will allow us to be able to move the staff around and get the staff to be able to provide that. So I would, again, this is dollars for mobile response, and there's a little bit of work in relationship to making sure that the procedures and protocols for the response matches this. And that's the work that we are doing in relation to this and other matters that have come forward. And I ask your approval.
Thank you, Frank. Questions, Commissioner?
I do not have any questions for Frank.
Okay, perfect. No, this sounds fabulous. I'm understanding it's crisis and mobile services for youth and young people. And I know that post-pandemic, it's one of the concerns that we've heard from the community and we've heard from schools is just that there are more challenges facing our children as they come back. And so our youth and our young people are just, they're in need of more help. So I think this is a great thing. Great. Okay, I think we're ready for a motion.
Madam Chair, I move approval of an 8th Amendment to the Oregon Health Authority 2022 Intergovernmental Agreement Number 173148 for the financing of community mental health, addiction treatment, recovery and prevention, and problem gambling services.
And I would second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Frank.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Okay, item number 8, discussion and consideration of an order in the matter of amending the fee schedule for the building division of the Department of Community Development. Sarah Absher, Director, Department of Community Development.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and have Brian and Julie lead the presentation today, and I'll sit in the back. and
Wonderful,
answer
thank you.
questions.
So Brian and Julie, if you would move up front, and if you would do me the favor of giving us your full name as you get started for the record.
Well, I'm Brian Blaylock, and I'm the Assistant Building Official for Tillamook County.
Thank you. So go ahead and pull up a chair, please.
I'm Julie Silverman, I'm one of the building permit technicians.
Thank you.
Okay, well, I came here, right about a year ago, and noticed that the fees for the building department had not been looked at in 10 years. And so we've had quite a bit of changes in cost, gas and vehicles and everything that goes along with it, cost of living, increases in salaries, and so we thought we needed to upgrade some of these fees a little bit. One of the things that I wanted to discuss right off the bat was that almost all of the inspections require 2 visits from the inspector. And in Tillamook County, that means it's a long drive. And also with that permit fee, we also have to pay for the permit technician to process and create the permit fees and issue the permits. So the long story short is that we looked at raising our minimum fee up just a little bit. It went from, I think, 86 to 100. Is that correct?
Which one?
Well,
Like all the trade permits previously were a base fee of $65. We have raised our plumbing up to $130 for the base fee, as it's a usually pretty expensive, as well as it's not easy to get plumbing inspectors. And we've created a base fee for electrical at $100 where there wasn't a minimum permit fee previously. And
If you-
the mechanical has gone up to $103 from $65.
those fees could be found in this Tillamook fee schedule here. I didn't put these packets in that order, so I wanted to discuss something else before that. But anyhow, so we looked at trying to cover our cost. As you know, the building department is supported by the permit fees alone. No supplemental taxes or anything come our way. So we need to be a self-supporting business. We also have to pay our director's salary, we have to pay rent, we have to do all those things with our permit fees. So just wanted to make sure we're clear on that. Now, the other issue that we have is the fee methodology that's required by the state, and the state requires that we use this building valuation data table to determine square foot valuations for projects. We get an opportunity in commercial projects to take the applicant's valuation or to use the per square foot valuation. If I were to look at an A2 restaurant, we would hit it at $205 per square foot. This determines our building permit fee, and then also our plans review fees are based off of that valuation that then goes into a formula. So if the nightclub owner came in and had a higher valuation, well, we could accept that. But either way, the state gives us the opportunity. When we get to residential, the R3 occupancies down lower, we are forced to use the state valuation data table of $167 per square foot. I'll take 3 single-family homes if they were going at that price. I've given you a copy of a couple of Zillow listings that we just pulled this morning. The top one is in Bay City. It last sold in 2002 for $102 per square foot, but it's now listed at $308 per square foot. You can see our valuation data table is a little bit behind. The second Zillow listing that we gave you was for a more expensive type house over in Oceanside. I think this was, and it's sold $272 per square foot in 2020, and now they're selling it for $524 per square foot. So it's this larger, more expensive home where we are missing the mark the most in our permit fees. They are very complex when they get this big. They cascade down the hills, the footings. There's geological hazard reports that are necessary to be looked at, and they take a lot of time. So we have adjusted our permit fee schedule to try to capture that, because we're spending a lot more time doing inspections. Sometimes on those homes we have 5 to 10 inspections on the foundation alone, because they do them in portions. They can't pour it all at once. They have to kind of build the hill up as they go. So we did a little comparison for you on this last sheet that says fee comparison for new homes, and these are the permit fees that we came up with by averaging with surrounding counties to get what everybody else is charging, and people have been increasing their fees along the way, so ours were behind. As we averaged, we came up with our new fee schedule. And then what we also did on here is when you get to a 3,000 square foot home, we accelerate the permit fee so that it tries to capture that inspection process. So just wanted to note that we tried to keep like the 1,200 square foot home at the top. As you can see, the building permit only goes up to $270. The mechanical permit fee, those were pretty appropriate. Ours were appropriate with everyone around, so they didn't even go up. The plumbing permit fee went up $50. Electrical permit fee went up just $30. So not extremely large increase in fees for these smaller flat lot type homes. However, I do know that we have a 1,200 square foot home that we did at Oceanside that had 40-foot deep caissons into the side of the hill. They would have got a bargain. So then we did the 3,000 square foot home to show that we're trying to capture this, the old permit fee for that home. 3,000 square foot is where we start to see these bigger homes cascading down the hill, and you can see that that increased substantially to give us some more money to do some inspections. Once again, the mechanical didn't increase much. Electrical increased a little, and plumbing increased a little as well. So we tried to, we're just trying to cover our costs. We really want to make it work, and we also showed you how our commercial buildings are going to be affected. A 12,000 square foot building, say that was Warner's new warehouse they just did over there, their permit fees would have gone up substantially because they're over that 3,000 square foot mark. However, it's commercial, so if they came in with a different valuation, we could accept theirs as well. And then we just showed a little smaller a restaurant in A2. Current is 28, new is going to be 42, so it's a little more money for them. But once again, the plumbing, mechanical, electricals didn't increase that much. The last thing that we were going to talk about was this Tillamook County fee schedule, so that if you want to, in your leisure time, want to look through all of these, we have several different fees that are required to be listed in our Acela permit tracking system. We have a lot of voids that didn't have anything in them. And the state is very happy that Julie has filled in all the gaps for them, because we know at the state level, they run their own reports, how many manufactured homes this year in the state. So if we didn't have that line item activated in our permit tracking system, they aren't getting any numbers from us. So Julie has filled in all those blanks, and they're very pleased with us for that. So if we look at some of these other fees, under other structural fees at the top, we have a little increase in our geohazard, dune hazard, flood hazard report.
It used to be $147. It used to be $147, and that's for any properties that are located in beach and dune hazard, geological hazard, flood area. That requires, they have a land use review as well, but from our building inspector, portion, there's more plan review, because they're looking over those reports when they're reviewing the plans for compliance. When they're also going out in the field, they're making sure that, if there was flood vents, that those flood vents are. Those foundations are usually much more complex than a standard foundation. So we're just trying to give a little bit more for those ones to pay for the inspector's time to be doing that, and for the plan review as well.
Another area where we did some modification is in section B, under the manufactured dwelling placement permit fees. We are now in line with the other jurisdictions that charge a different price for a single wide, a double wide, or a triple wide. Obviously, a little more work in each one of those for the inspectors to look at. That's good. We changed a little bit in our mechanical fees. Under section E, sorry, I got page numbers on there. There's a lot of new changing mechanical equipment, so we're having to come up with some different line items. But our permit fees are still very reasonable for these different units. But now we have, as we all know, the split system is the big hit of the last 10 years probably, where we have a heat pump outside and an AC unit on the inside hanging on the wall. And that's quite regularly, and it wasn't on our permit fee schedule, so it's on there now. Also, another thing that's coming around, because the houses are getting so tight, are these new energy recovery ventilation systems, where they kind of temper the air and they bring fresh air into these houses that are so tight that they need fresh air. So we're seeing lots of different mechanical equipment out there. And I just have to give a shout out to Rick Halper. He's really been keeping me up on the current things, and he invites me to meetings with his reps. I just think that's been great, because it's nice to work with the contractors, and I like that. So, what about plumbing fees? Yeah, and like I showed on our comparison, the plumbing permit fee, we base these off, for single-family homes, it's based off the bathrooms, how many bathrooms you have for a new home. But what we did also do is create consistency in our fixtures, so that each fixture is appropriately priced and constant. We tried to keep, if it's a sink, it's $31. If it's a bathtub, it's $31. Pretty much you're looking at hot, cold, drain for everything. We get to something like a backflow preventer, it's a little bit more money, because there's a little more involved with reading the listings and seeing how they're set up and tested. So, as we all like to have nice clean water and not go in the other direction into the system. I think that about covers it. Any questions?
Thank you, appreciate that. I'll let my fellow Commissioner begin. Do you have any questions, Commissioner Bell?
I don't know if I have, I have one question. When you and Julie joined us previously at a board briefing to talk about this project as you were updating fees, we talked about letting contractors in the construction community know about the fee in updates. So will you please talk about that a little bit, about your process that way?
Of how we let them know?
communicating with the construction community about the fee increases.
Thank you, Commissioner Brown. I can go ahead and answer that. So there's a couple of things that we're doing. So the first thing is we have put signs up on our doors and on our counters, so that anyone coming in, whether it's a local contractor or a property owner, community member that lets everyone knows that comes to our office, that those fees are going to be changing. The other thing is I am reaching out to our local contractors to also let them know. And third, what we will be doing following today is a mailing. So we will also send notice via mail to all of our contractors, because we don't see them all regularly, to make sure that if they have any projects in the pipeline, that following today, should the board choose to adopt this amended fee schedule, that we want people to know that our fees will be adjusted. With that, as you recall, the Building Codes Division also does a public notice for the fee schedule that goes out to their listserv of everyone that has a license. So we feel we are doing everything that we can to let everyone know.
Great, thank you.
And the word must be out because people are talking.
Okay, good, thank you. I thought about that because the last time I had work done at my house, the contractor I worked with told me, well, this is how much the fee will be, and it was built into the price that I paid. So I don't anticipate that the contractors, this is coming out of their pockets, but as they're building their bids, they need to know what the fees are. So that's important, so thank you for that. And also thank you for the work. 10 years is a long time to go without a fee update. I think it's important that people understand that the Department of Community Development, as you said, doesn't have another revenue source. In general, it's a general fund department, and so as we move into this time of greater budget scrutiny, we have to look at, are our fees appropriate? Are there places where, how are we going to generate the revenue to continue to offer the services that we offer? And so we can't just increase property taxes, so we have to look at fees. So nobody ever likes the job of raising rates, but not having done it for 10 years, it certainly seems appropriate. And I appreciate the work that went into this. I appreciate Julie's work in updating the schedule. And also, I think we talked briefly in our previous meeting about how we couldn't just raise a fee randomly to $10,000. We have to justify it. So can you talk about that, the process of arriving at your fees and how you justify them?
Sure. What we did was we discussed with the Building Codes Division to give us the fee schedules for some surrounding counties, and we lined up the different counties for the different fees, and we saw what theirs were for each thing, and we averaged it out to come up with what we thought was appropriate to be consistent with the other jurisdictions that are around that apparently have been increasing their fees. Our average was drugged down a little bit. Someone a little bit south of us had a $10 minimum permit fee, and that kind of threw things off a little bit, but we worked through all that. We looked a little bit also at how we looked at the travel time and the actual cost of an inspection, but working with those other fees and averaging them out was how we came up with these fees. And at Building Codes Division, when they do their notification, the people have an opportunity to comment on it, and the Building Codes Division said you should be prepared to show that you were in line with your surrounding communities. I was like, oh, well, we already did that. So we feel very comfortable where we're at with this, and we hope that it just keeps providing. I know that third-party review agency doing the work for us wasn't well received by the local contractors. They were very happy to have people in-house. It'd be nice to keep people in the house. We go through a lot of training to get people where they can do the jobs here and provide a good service. several contractors talking about how nice it is to be able to come down and get an answer from me or Seth at the counter. So,
I totally agree with that, and I've heard the same in the community, how grateful people are to have a local building inspector, so thank you for that.
Yeah.
I agree. And also I appreciate your explanation of how in certain places, like right on the coast, on the ocean, it's so much more complicated to build, and therefore, there's a lot more work in the plan review and the inspections, et cetera, so that makes perfect sense.
yeah.
And we do have the fees going in effect as of July 15th, just because of when we were able to get things noticed to Building Codes Division, as if they have a 45-day period that it must be posted for their appeal period as well.
Thank you.
Perfect, thank you. No, I just agree with my fellow commissioner, not having done this for 10 years, it's time to do this. And that, this is a division that has to be self-supporting. We don't put general fund tax revenue in here, and there's a reason for that. These are services specific to individuals who are building a home. And I think that most of us who are not building a home at that time would not be happy if we found out the taxes we were paying to the county were actually going to support someone else building a home, particularly in the current environment as we look at so many of the homes that are being built that are much more complicated right on the coast, being second homes for people who don't live here. I think we would also agree we would prefer not to be subsidizing that. So I think the fact that it is a standalone department makes a lot of sense. It is a pay for what you receive type of department. And in order for that to work, we do have to charge what it costs to do the work. So I appreciate that we've got the updates in place. I appreciate that you have worked with the State Building Codes Division, because that is really who we answer to in so many ways for this department. So maybe we would like to do something different, but we answer to them. And so they've given us the minimum valuation number that we have to use. They have looked at all of these fees to determine if in fact we're hitting the mark on them. They would be reaching back out to us if we have done something completely out of line. So I appreciate the dual work that you had to do to say, what does it cost us? And how does that align with our neighbors, so that you kind of tweak it and get it to go, okay, we have two standards to meet here. Can we make that work? So I appreciate that. And the level of detail, the number of fees that are on here, it's a lot of different fees. And I realized that that was a lot of work, because it wasn't one, well, what's a permit cost? Here's the one number. It was like, it's made up of these probably, well, I don't know, I'm guessing close to 100 different components. They'd all get wrapped together. So you had to do that research for 100 different things. And I appreciate the work you've done to get us here. And I'm also pleased to hear that we have been in contact with our contractors, that there will be additional noticing, and that noticing will not only go to the ones that we know and work with regularly, but thanks to the Building Codes Division, if I understood correctly, that's going to go to everyone who holds a contracting license. Is that across the state or just in our area?
State.
Across the state, which is also really beneficial, because we know that we have contractors coming from the metro area and other areas to build here, precisely because we have a lot of second homes that are built. And so it's not just our local contractors that we're talking to in this case. Building Codes Division is going to make sure that everybody knows. So that may be one of the good partnerships with the state.
Aaron, I wanted to follow up on that. We did work with the Building Codes Division to discuss how to capture this home that we're spending more time on.
Yeah.
I talked to the tax and assessment. They have like regional modifiers for how they come up with their amounts, and the state said you can't do that. You have to come up with another way to grab that. And so that's where we came up with this idea of the 3,000 square foot home. So
Yeah.
It's the fee methodology that the contractors wanted and the state wants, and so that's what we do.
Perfect. Yeah, no, again, it's just the recognition that we are bound by a lot of rules that come from the state of Oregon for us, that being one of them.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you working to say, how do we try to catch that another way? What people say to us all the time, or at least to me, is why don't we just charge more for second homes for people who don't live here? And that's not legal, right? Because I hear that frequently when people say, well, we should be really getting our visitors, we should really be getting our second homeowners to pay for some of these things that are changing our environment or changing our home valuations. But it's not legal to do that. So we have to really look at the real cost, which you did with the square footage, which leads to the complexity and the number of visits, et cetera. So I appreciate you continuing to poke around until you found a methodology that was both legal and will allow us to charge what it costs to do what we do.
All right, thank you.
Okay, I think we are ready for a motion, Commissioner.
Madam Chair, I move approval of order number 23-030 in the matter of amending the fee schedule for the building division of the Department of Community Development.
And I would second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All of those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you both, Brian and Julie. Thank you so much for being here and for all your work on this. Appreciate it.
When you are all here, I owe you a carrot cake.
Oh, you said that last time and
I
it's still
know.
not here.
But Mr. Yamamoto's not here, and he would be very sad.
Well, that
We
would
don't
have
care
been his
about that.
problem for traveling so much, right? We might have wrapped up a piece for him. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 9, discussion and consideration of an order in the matter of amending the conditions of approval for Cougar Ridge subdivision, formerly known as Second Addition to Avalon Heights, a 58-lot subdivision on a property located within the unincorporated community of Oceanside, accessed via Highland Drive and Grand Avenue, county local access roads, and is designated as tax lot 200 of section 30 DC, township 1 south, range 10 west of the Willamette Meridian, Tillamook County, Oregon. Tentative subdivision plat approval includes approval of geologic hazard report number 851-21-000-202-PLNG. Sarah Absher, Director, Department of Community Development. Good morning, Sarah.
Good morning, thank you. So yes, before you is the order that captures the motion and the approval by the board at a hearing that took place last Wednesday to amend the conditions of approval for Cougar Ridge subdivision. So it's 58-lot subdivision in the unincorporated community of Oceanside. To add a phasing schedule for final plat approval and recording of phases 1 through 3, as Mr. Hughes is able to get the subdivision, the utilities, infrastructure, road paving, etc. constructed. So just requesting your signature of the order so that we can go ahead and issue the notice of decision, or the decision you made last week.
Perfect, thank you. Commissioner?
I would just reiterate what Sarah just said. We made this decision last week, and this is just the order making it formal.
Perfect, agreed. I think we are ready for a motion. It's your turn to read the long paragraph.
Madam Chair, I move approval of order number 851-21-000-309-PLNG. Can I just stop there?
I don't think so.
All right. In the matter of amending the conditions of approval for Cougar Ridge subdivision, formerly known as the Second Addition to Avalon Heights, a 58-lot subdivision on a property located within the unincorporated community of Oceanside, accessed via Highland Drive and Grand Avenue, local county access roads, and designated as tax lot 200 of section 30 DC, township 1 south, range 10 west of the Willamette Meridian, Tillamook County, Oregon. Tentative subdivision plat approval includes approval of geologic hazard report number 851-21-000-202-PLNG.
And I would second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. All right, thank you. We love those land use ones. Okay, moving on to item number 10, discussion and consideration of a personnel requisition for a returning retired employee, 150 days on call, administrative specialist in the Health and Human Services Department. Jody Wilson, Director of Human Resources.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
We have a practice of bringing our returning retirees through the Board of Commissioners to approve their returning employment. Marlene may want to add to this, but there are a number of projects that Donna, over her long career, has done for the county that's very specific and very detailed. You know, when we look at our retirees, there's that historical knowledge that we're trying to pass down. So we're very grateful for those retirees who are willing to come back on a part-time basis to help with some of those projects that you couldn't possibly build into a 6-month learning plan for staff. I'd love to give Marlene a moment to see if there's anything she wants to add, but we are in favor, HR is in favor of returning Donna.
Good morning again, Marlene Putman with Health and Human Services. Thank you for sharing that, Jody. It is really true when you have people who've worked for the county 30 plus years and over 5 years in the current position, there really is a lot of institutional knowledge that travels with that individual, and in this case, Donna Reisner, who has been our dental program manager now as we implemented our new dental clinic. Oh, sorry, we're talking about Donna Jigu on this one, sorry. I just submitted one. Sorry.
Yeah,
That'll be our next week
agenda.
agenda.
That'll be a couple weeks.
I submitted one for the other Donna today or yesterday. So we're talking about Donna Jigu. Similarly, Donna Jigu has been with Tillamook County for a number of years before even working in the current department when I worked in the Children and Families Commission. So Donna has grown with the program, as have I, over the last 10 plus years, and has assisted in that role. She's assisting again in training our new staff person Maya and learning the job, and also assisting as we head into our operational site visit with HRSA. Jody has the long list, as does our liaison commissioner Erin Scarr, on what those overlapping duties will be. Our plan is to get that training in place and to then also look at how we can get staff support in other areas of the clinic to take on some of the tasks that have really been, I don't know, ended up in the administrative office with not enough people to cover all the tasks. So we're working with Jody and with HR department to identify and kind of pull the strings out, if you will, on that ball of twine to figure out how we can put these positions in that really accurately describe the role and the pay that needs to go with those positions. So appreciate that and HR support in allowing or recommending that Donna Jigu would be allowed to return as a retired position with the Health and Human Services Department. I'm happy to answer any other questions.
Thank you. Commissioner, questions or comments?
I don't have any questions. I'm glad she's willing and able to return, and we're able to continue with that transfer of knowledge. So my thanks to Donna Jigu for her service to the county.
And I would agree. The HRSA site visit is a very, very big piece for our federally qualified health center, and isn't something that happens every year. It isn't something that, you know, we can easily train someone for. So I'm very pleased that she's willing to come back and help us through that and help Maya through her first HRSA review. I think it's, you know, worthy to share that we have had a number of retirements at Health and Human Services over the last 2 years. And one of the things that, you know, we know when someone retires how difficult it is to replace them and how difficult it is to train someone in an overlap period that might be just a couple of months on skills and knowledge that people have learned over 20 to 30 years. And so we really have had a lot of staff who have hit that retirement point and have retired and have taken with them 20 to 30 years worth of knowledge and training. And it is a very challenging space in which to continue to operate the same programs and services that we have. So I give a lot of credit to Marlene and the remaining staff in finding ways to do that. But this tool of using our 150-day employees has been a very helpful one, and I, you know, appreciate Donna's willingness to come back and support us on this. I think we're ready for a motion.
Madam Chair, I move approval of a personnel requisition for a returning retired employee, 150 days on-call administrative specialist in the Health and Human Services Department.
And I would second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving on to item number 11. Discussion and consideration of an order in the matter of designating a newspaper for the publication of the 2023 Tillamook County Property Tax Foreclosure List. William K. Sargent, County Counsel.
Each year, the county institutes proceedings to take into account properties where the owners have not paid taxes for 3 or more years. The first step in that is for the board to designate a publication to give notice to those people, and that's what this order does. It designates the Headlight Herald to publish the foreclosure list. As the board is aware, there's been a recent Supreme Court case that is going to affect foreclosures. The preliminary thinking is, like, we're going to proceed per normal in terms of the foreclosure process, but on the other end of it, when it comes time to take title to those people who don't redeem, there's going to be some big changes made, so we're kind of working our way through that. But it's business as usual, at least on this particular beginning of the 2023 tax year.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner?
I'm certainly supportive of designating the Tillamook Headlight Herald as our publication of record, but I wonder if, for the benefit of people watching, if you could talk a little bit more about that Supreme Court decision.
Bottom line is, Oregon, like I think 12 other states, has a foreclosure process that results in, ultimately, if you don't pay your taxes after you are given 2 years to do so, after the court says you got to do this, Rachel sells them at a sale. And heretofore, we had kept the proceeds. Rachel knows how they're dispersed, but they're dispersed, I think, according to a statute. Well, the Supreme Court said, in a case, I think, out of Illinois, who had that same procedure, that's a taking. You can't, if there's an excess, like $5,000 in taxes, and you turn around and sell the property for $10,000, you can't keep that $5,000. It has to be returned somehow to the taxpayer, which of course creates all kinds of procedural problems as a practical matter that the Supreme Court probably did take into consideration. But that's it, Commissioner Bell. We're going to have to figure out what we're going to do. Joel's more involved than I am, but I think there's some hope that there'll be a legislative fix in terms of how to deal with sales from here on out.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I think one of the key pieces is some of the properties that we take in a foreclosure proceeding may have cleanup that's required on them, and then there is also just the time it takes to put them through the sale process. And proceeds from those sales were previously allowed to cover our costs in moving those properties from being off of the tax roll in a foreclosed situation to getting back out to people who want to live on them, build on them, use them, and be back on the tax roll without us having to foot the bill for that transition between they're not paying their taxes, we take it in, we get it ready for sale, we go through the process and we sell it. That will now, if I understand correctly, potentially not be covered costs for us. So I think that's of concern to the county, particularly as we go into a time where we know we are going to be tightening our belts to figure out how we live within the property taxes that we receive. If we just have to take it and turn around and sell it for the tax value that it has, the tax owed on it, and we can't recoup any of our costs, that can be very problematic for some of the properties that are, you may have hazardous materials and different things on them that in the past we could use those proceeds to pay for. So did I misrepresent anything in that, Rachel?
No, I think you've characterized it very well. Staff's digging into all this. We'll be talking about it at a future board briefing or executive session, and yeah, this is kind of a done deal, and we're just trying to understand what it means and how we implement it. There will be legislative fixes, but they're just legislative fixes to bring our statutes into compliance with this decision. It won't be a fix to work around it, so.
Right.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. As I was reading about it, I thought, oh, some of these properties are going to lie fallow. because I don't know how we can afford to do what we do. When in this process takes a lot of staff time, a lot of Rachel's time, a lot of Isabel's time, a lot of legal counsel's time. And as Commissioner Scar just said, there was a recent property that was cleaned up and sold, but the cleanup was extensive and expensive. And so if we can't recoup our costs for any of that, I don't know how we could afford to do it.
Yeah, or if we will be required to do it, and we still don't know if a surplus means, if that includes our cleanup costs, because wouldn't necessarily be a surplus, that is our cost, but that's to be determined. So,
Fingers
more to
crossed.
come.
Yeah, fingers crossed that this does not end up being one more drain on county financials that is, a regulation that is handed to us that we have no choice about. We talk with some regularity about our unfunded mandates as a county and how those play into our challenges, and let's hope this doesn't become one more of those. So, okay, thank you for that. I think we are ready for a motion.
Madam Chair, I move approval of order number 23-031 in the matter of designating a newspaper for the publication of the 2023 Tillamook County Property Tax Foreclosure List.
And I would second. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All of those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Item number 12, discussion and consideration of a professional services agreement with McKinstry Ascension LLC for a comprehensive facility and energy assessment and space planning project. Rachel Haggerty, Chief of Staff.
The county has been negotiating this agreement for several months in coordination with McKinstry and the county departments that will receive this facilities conditions assessment for their facilities. We are eager to get going. Departments are eager. McKinstry is eager. We've negotiated a scope of work that includes conditions assessment on the courthouse, all the health department facilities, all the public works facilities, solid waste, the justice and jail facility, the library main branch, many of the parks facilities, including boat launches, the Pioneer Museum, and then there will also be the spacing assessment, the space assessment with the health department that Commissioner Scar discussed earlier in the meeting. This was a high priority in the ARPA projects that the board approved, so there is $200,000 allocated from ARPA to support the conditions assessment. The negotiated price is $119,550, so we might have some left over to implement some of the recommendations that might come out of the report. And then there is $25,000 in ARPA for the health department's space assessment, and the amount that is negotiated, because it's a pretty extensive amount of work working with the department and all of their facilities. The cost to do that is $180,820, and the health department is picking up the difference beyond the $25,000 in ARPA. The scope of work is scheduled to go as soon as this contract is signed, immediately through October, and then we'll have a report that we can look at and decide how we want to proceed. They'll be looking at all the departments, doing a lot of data collection. They'll be on site a lot. They're going to be coordinating directly with the departments to facilitate that work. Then they'll go into an analysis phase, looking at different energy ratings. They're going to be looking at our utility bills, and then identifying what we need for deferred maintenance or just general improvements, ways we can save on our energy output, generating a maintenance plan. And something that's I'm pretty excited about is they'll have a visualization tool that will be online that we can look at all of our facilities in different ways as we're trying to plan budget, what's due for replacement, what do we need to plan for replacement, and toggle between all of that. And that we will just have indefinitely. So this is ready for consideration, and we are pretty excited to get going. And I should also say, along with this, I'm going to be working with CIS to complete security assessments for all these facilities, as well as community development. We didn't do a facilities conditions assessment because we don't own that building. But we'll be pulling in Sarah to work with us on the security assessment with CIS, who did one on the courthouse last year already. So that is lined up as well. We are ready to get going.
Perfect, thank you. Commissioner, questions or comments?
I think this is exciting. It's been exciting since we started talking about it 2 years ago, a long time ago, when we were having the ARPA discussions. The county owns and is responsible for a number of facilities, all of which are aging. Some are far more aged than others. And we need a comprehensive plan of what needs to be done, in what order, what are our priorities. So I think this is great, and McKinstry has a terrific reputation. I think this is the first time I've heard about that tool. That sounds really cool. So it's important work, and I'm glad that we have ARPA funds to cover it.
Yeah, I completely agree. You know, the county, I don't have that number off the top of my head. I know Sean's on there. She might be able to pop on and tell us what the value of the assets are that we hold in our property, in our buildings. But it's a very large value, and we really are responsible for making sure that they have a long, useful life, and maintenance of those facilities is what will ensure that. The other piece is we had sort of a surprise this year at the Justice facility. We had two sort of surprises, I think. One of them wasn't as much. The sewer piece of it, I guess it's part of the septic system of the port that we need to pay our part in the upgrade of that, which we had known was coming, but we didn't know quite when, and all of a sudden we found out it's this year. But we also had an unexpected cost with the sprinkler system, the fire suppression sprinkler system. So I think this just process to go through and say, let's look at all of our facilities, let's look at their condition, let's look at the typical lifespan of sprinkler systems, of HVAC systems, of windows. When do we need to replace windows? Just the types of things that are really ongoing expenses for owning and utilizing a facility. So having that laid out for us is going to be phenomenal. When I was at CARE, we did these for both of the assisted living buildings that we own, and then we were able to set up a plan that every year we knew, hey, this year is 2 HVAC units, it is painting on the exterior, and it is a parking lot reseal. Perfect. We knew all that was due in this year, and we knew for 5 years into the future exactly what we needed to be doing to keep that maintained. That's the sort of thing the county needs to have, is a plan that lets us know, how do we make sure we don't lose a facility for failure to maintain? So you can tell, I'm super excited. I love this sort of thing. I love planning. I love having this laid out into our future so we can figure out how we will pay for it. It's not great when we have a surprise like the sprinkler system, or, oh shoot, this is the year for the septic, because it's just not on our radar, because it's not part of our regular process. So excited to have a regular process. Yeah, Sean, did you have a number for us? What is the asset, what are the assets value of what we are protecting here?
So, am I unmuted?
Yes, you are, and I'm sorry I didn't give you any kind of heads up. I just called you out of the blue.
No, that's okay. Without pulling up each individual facility's property insurance schedule, I can tell you the general fund, just the courthouse, the museum, county office work, 4-H and extension service, and our fourplex one is the total insurance value is $24 million. That's just a basic, those 5-6 items. I would have to pull each individual property schedule to find out the total value. I can do that in the next week and get that to you. But
I think it would be interesting.
Our property are valuable, and it is nice going forward to have a plan of what needs fixed when.
Perfect, thank you. No, I appreciate that. 24 million, and that's just a slice. So it just really reminds us the value of what we are planning to protect. So I'm excited. This is some of the things that ARPA has made possible for the county that otherwise we wouldn't have had general fund available to do this kind of planning work, but it's planning work that is absolutely critical for the county long term. So I thank you, Rachel, for working on this and shepherding this project. I know we have a lot of special projects on your plate, and I appreciate that you're working through this one with us. I think we're ready for a motion.
Madam Chair, I move approval of a professional services agreement with McKinstry Ascension LLC for a comprehensive facility and energy assessment and space planning project.
And I would second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. Everyone in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion carries. All right. That is it for our agenda today. Do we have any board concerns? Okay. We are going into an executive session, so I am going to read the board announcements, and then I will have Bill give us the executive session under which we are going after the board announcements. Oh my goodness, they're short today. Highly unusual. A board briefing. The board briefing scheduled for Wednesday, June 7th, 2023 at 2 p.m. is canceled. The commissioners will attend the second of 2 public hearings on Tuesday, June 13th, 2023 at 5:30 p.m. to consider proposed amendments to Tillamook County Ordinance Number 84 for the regulation of short-term rentals in unincorporated Tillamook County. Public hearings will be held at the Port of Tillamook Bay Conference Center, 4000 Blount Boulevard, Tillamook, Oregon. The teleconference number is 1-971-254-3149. Conference ID 887-242-77#. And a very rare turn of events, there was only one. Okay, so with that, we will be going into an executive session, and council, can you give us that?
I can, 190, ORS 192, 660-2H.
Okay, perfect, thank you. So we will recess this Board of Commissioners meeting. We do not expect to make any decisions once we come out of executive session. So go forth and have a wonderful day. All right, we are recessed at 10:07 a.m.